Thanks for tuning in to Look at My JPEG, the podcast that discusses NFT, DeFi, and NFT financialization. This is your host, Xerox Jose, the founder of NFT Perp. The reason why I want to do this podcast is because there's just not enough people talking about NFT financializations. In this podcast, you can expect us to invite guests that are builders, founders, even investors that are deep in the NFT financialization space. We'll discuss their story, what they're building, and how you can get involved. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to episode 24. This week, our special guest is none other than DropsDAO. Drops is a fantastic protocol within NFT Finance, allowing you to use your NFT as collateral to obtain instant loans. It is a peer-to-pool model. You can also buy NFTs with up to 2x, I believe, leverage, and refinance your loans with interest rates that are close to zero. This one is a great conversation and thorough conversation with, I consider them one of the OGs in NFT Finance space. So we hope you enjoy it.
Hey, GM.
Is this Darius?
Yeah. This is Darius, founder of Drops.
Oh, yes.
And
welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
All right. So this is the 24th episode of Look at My JPEG. For those that are tuning in live, thank you for coming on. Today we have one of the OGs actually in the NFT finance space, Xerox Darius, and his company Drops joining with us as our guest. Excited to dive into a bunch of different details, protocol, mechanism, products, and features, what you guys have been up to in the space. So yeah, without further ado, let's welcome Darius. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, let's get started.
So before we hop into Drops, Darius, can you give us a little quick intro of yourself? How did you get into crypto? And then just for fun, tell us like your biggest win and losses in NFT trading.
So I guess like my journey in crypto started back in like 2012. That's when a friend of mine couldn't stop talking about darknet and all those marketplaces. So I say to look into myself, downloaded Tor browser, went to like darknet website registry, and then saw that all the shit they sell there was sold in Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, so what is that? And so, I guess like back then I bought, it's like my first Bitcoins. And then I guess like after a few months later, it pumped like 3x, and I sold happily for a 3x profit. And then just got more, it's like intrigued this whole space and been following since. Got more involved in crypto development. I would say in it's like 2017. During that ICO bubble. Later on, back then, I was running a development agency. So we did basics like launching, developing tokens for projects or sale dashboards, etc. And moving forward.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a Web 3. Well, I guess the Web 3 wasn't really a term back in the day, but smart contract and blockchain development agency.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we're helping helping to create full stack solutions. Obviously none of those ICOs that we work with succeeded or did anything relevant. But yeah, it was a start. And after that, then came the great beer, and then got back more into the space in 2020. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, we had well, went through all this like DeFi summer stuff, and was thinking that back then NFTs were well, I'd say under well, they didn't get attention they deserved,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I want to experiment and started one NFT project. It was called Node Runners. So it was like
Mm.
NFT collectibles of famous DeFi prodigies, and it featured NFT staking. So it was well, basically, yeah, uh, what we now have with Bored Apes staking their apes and earning tokens. We did back then in 2000, well, 2020,
Mm.
and yeah, it went pretty well, but didn't see where this thing could scale up or go, and overall, yeah, started thinking how NFTs can be well, productive assets like
Yeah.
DeFi tokens were. And so yeah, like through like some different ideation process, eventually kind of realized that yeah, for NFTs to be like composable and maybe to have also like instant value from them, they need a liquidity protocol, well, similar like we had in DeFi, and
Mm.
that's how well, idea of Drops was born. So to create a money market for NFTs, so liquidity can be instantly accessible, and that in turn can create new interesting use cases. Well, not just borrowing for the sake of getting unlocking new capital, but also for the sake of well, for example, what we rolled out what is NFT financing, or maybe it can be called like NFT mortgages or buy now pay later for NFTs. That you
Mm.
essentially put a down payment, and then uh, you can buy NFT by borrowing from the pool. Um,
So I'm curious, when you guys were first starting to build DropsDAO, what was the competitive landscape at the time? I would imagine like NFT was probably the only other protocol live that's tackling NFT lending and borrowing, right?
yeah, kind of. I'd say like at that time, well, there was NFTX at that time. Also, no, I forgot. Well, NFT 20 from,
Mm.
well, I forgot the name. But so yeah, there were basically attempts at fractionalizing NFTs,
Yeah.
and but yeah, there was no like the liquidity for NFTs back then was really, I'd say, well, it was really slim. Like we're talking about early 2021. Uh,
Yeah.
like the biggest, well, the biggest hype that was there, I remember it was around hash masks, and that's where
Mm.
this whole new PFP wave started to come out.
Mm.
So yeah, back then, still were trying to figure out how can we create a liquidity for NFTs. Well, can we make NFTs as a usable collateral when liquidity is not really that visible?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, then we're thinking, about like this. The first iteration that we're building was about fractionalizing NFTs, creating a liquidity for those fractions, and then using
Mm.
those fractions as collateral. So that was the initial idea, and Then, so yeah, fast forward then to like June, July, NFT landscape started to transform, like really, I'd say dramatically. Like the volumes were getting insane. Well, suddenly they became much more liquid. And yeah, then we essentially had to switch this model to more like with assumption that NFTs can be sold at like discounted, well, at any time a discounted rate from a floor price. And yeah, that's when built like an started building oracles, and started approaching it from this handle that we price NFT at the floor value. You can deposit, well, you can borrow up to maybe 60% of its value, and yeah, it's pretty much here. We landed at our current design.
Yeah, that makes sense. Were you guys the first peer-to-pool NFT lending and borrowing protocol?
Uh, I would, yeah, I would say so. Like, we're in the first to launch, unfortunately, but it's like first laid laid out our development plan and how we plan to do
Yeah,
it. And yeah, it's been yeah, really exciting journey building it out.
100%. I think one of the interesting things with peer-to-pool NFT lending and borrowing protocols was compared to NFT-Fi, you have to go through a P2P model where you have to go through the bids and perhaps bars set the asks, and typically the loan origination can take some time if the market isn't deep enough. So NFT lending and borrowing protocols with P2Pool model sort of solve that issue pretty quickly. With the NFT Oracle you guys developed, so Darius and I, for the listeners, we've talked quite some time now. I think we've been in touch for maybe over a year. Um, when we were first developing NFT Perps Oracle, we actually um, consulted Darius for a couple of weeks and had so therefore like our Oracle model has a decent amount of similarities between Drops Oracle and NFT Perps Oracle. So hats off to you guys in terms of creating those sort of sales backed Oracle prices as one of the pioneers in the space. And tell us a little bit about that process in developing an NFT pricing Oracle, and what has changed over the last 8 to 9 months or so.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, really excited. Well, really glad to be to help. Well, I don't know, I guess shaping the Oracle for NFT Perp. And yeah, you guys did a really good job there. So back when we're building our Oracle, so kind of what we wanted to achieve is well, it's more like a fair value for NFT, so that it can be easily liquidated at any time if the loan gets well underwater. So to do that, we looked at NFTs at the NFT market like on order book, so that there are bids and there are asks, and we're trying to figure out how can we find this price in the middle. And so yeah, one of the ways that we came up with is to track all like the sales that are happening, and then by using like some statistical probabilities to filter out those that deviate, that are basically sales that are outliers from the usual sales that are happening, and that way, well, we can be more certain that if this NFT goes on the market, it can be liquidated. Because we cared about LPs. So yeah, like I would say we spent a couple of months by trying different models, and eventually arrived at these parameters for standard deviations that, yeah, maybe like if listeners here are familiar with trading, so we created something like Bollinger Bands for NFTs, and if sale would happen outside of this band, so it would not be counted. If it would be happening inside, so it would be. And yeah, that way, see, like we had a decent confidence in the Oracle. But yeah, then once we launched the product, people started using it. We have been noticing that the prices of the of our Oracle are usually I guess would be lower than the floor price on the market. It's been designed this way, and some users would find it confusing that why would they get liquidated if the floor price is higher. So I guess to account for that, we upgrade our Oracle to create so that it would also include floor prices, like time-weighted 24-hour floor price, and would combine these values. So would have a combination of average floor price and the spot price per se.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it was important for you guys to factor in sales versus listing values, right? Because it presents a clear picture of both buyer and seller intent with valuations, right? Like typically, you would see decent spread in between the bids and asks on OpenSea.
Mm-hmm.
And with the platform fees, sort of going down across the board, and royalties starting to shrink down a little bit, with Blur launching. Now the NFT liquidity looks quite different, right? Since Blur had launched, but I always thought it was important for these sort of valuations to account for both buyers and sellers. It seems like for me, the floor price is always very sell side represented, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
always represent the bid side. So um, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess since we're talking about Oracle, and give us a bit deeper of like rationale of why liquidation is important in the sense of like protecting LPs, and how does the liquidation process work on DropsDAO?
So we have been really careful with the whole liquidation approach and and pricing itself. So differently and other protocols we don't utilize auctions because because they are extending the length of time when liquidation can happen, and if there is enough volatility in the space, so a loan can get basically under collateralized. And anyway, we've seen and there was a case back before with a bank run at one lending platform, and that's that's what we want to avoid initially with our design. So in case of liquidation, it works similarly to DeFi protocols, where collateral can be purchased at a discount, and user gets back whatever is left after loan repayment. So
Is that at a discount of your Oracle valuation?
Yeah. So basically, we group NFTs by their let's see, risk factors, and so the discount would depend on how liquid NFT is on the market and what's the spread that we've been seeing between bids and asks, and plus royalties, because yeah, that, well, essentially the want to factor in the spread and add a few percentages on top, so liquidators have an incentive to arbitrage the liquidation.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is more robust and protects LPs because the debt doesn't accumulate. And well, for borrowers, it allows us to offer high loan to values for borrowers, and they don't because we can be sure that this loan will not, this loan can be liquidated as soon as it reaches this threshold.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So for lenders, and those on your platform, there are different tranches of pools that lenders can deposit their lending capital into.
Yeah.
And talk to us a little about the different tranches. How does that affect interest rates, if any? How does that affect LTVs for borrowers and in each different sort of lending pools? And yeah, kind of talk to us a little bit about that in terms of like collateral accepted. How does risk or volatility, if any, define these sort of different pools parameters?
So yeah, we're grouping NFTs in tranches, and it's essentially LPs that want to provide liquidity can see that, okay, we have a pool for blue chips. There's higher TVL. The interest rates are lower for lenders, but also the collateral there is more, let's say, stable, more liquid. So it's like the risk of providing capital there is lower. And yeah, they have other like two tranches. So that's where there's like, I would say, they would have now less liquidity available. They would have higher interest rates than than the main blue chip pool. And yeah, so this design also allows a couple of things. Is we can allow borrowers to have high LTV and not to, because the lenders that are going to come, they would accept that this particular group of NFTs, that they trust that this particular group of NFTs with the LTVs provided there. And I would say, like, what you hear a couple of things. So first, NFTs can have high LTV because they're isolated from say like other tranches, and the risk profile of lenders doesn't mix. So if I'm providing to blue chips, I'm not exposed to let's say low cap NFTs, and yeah, same goes like vice versa. And yeah, like these strategies also allowed us just to better manage risk for lenders, because each has its own liquidation parameters, interest rates. Yeah, say that would be the main part.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then for borrowers, what does interest rates look like on these different pools? How do borrowers pay back interest rates? What are some of the differences between you guys and other lending and borrowing protocols when it comes to interest rates payments?
So currently, yeah, we have worked our interest rate curve, and now due to yeah, quite it's not fully utilized, so the interest rates are quite low, like starting at I would say maybe 2.5, maybe 3% for blue chips, and then it might be it will go maybe up to even like 5%. And
APY?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's really cheap.
yeah. So yeah, oh, yeah, we're running this, I guess, for a limited amount of time to see how it goes. But yeah, currently we just have one of the lowest rates in the market. Then in terms of loan repayment, so it's well, it can be called like pay as you go. So you can pay off your loan at any time, and interest just accrues there on say every second. And well, yeah, so it has this flexibility, and in case, well, if your user it gets closer to like liquidation or borrow limit gets exceeded, so loan can be partially repaid and it can just keep on going. I say also like additional feature that we have is like this cross margin account. So in case users loan is not well, in case users health factor dips, user can deposit more collateral. Can be other NFTs supported in the pool, or they can add well, any other ERC20 that is being supported there, and that way increase their overall collateral and improve the health factor.
That's quite interesting. Explain to us, like, why would users, borrowers, pay as they go on interest rates, interest payments, as opposed to paying back their interest payments upon repayment of the loan?
So yeah, there can be cases when, let's say, like in peer-to-peer model, where you have a loan, you have set the deadline for like 30 days, and if you don't make the payment, well, you liquidate it, your whole collateral is taken, and well, you only have what you have borrowed. So, and if you want to extend this loan, it's not always possible to do so. So it kind of like locks in user in position where, well, that is not flexible, and there are cases when, well, maybe you want to extend it, and maybe you want to like renegotiate your loan term. So in our case, that is built in by default. So if you borrow against your NFT, well, all you need to care about is to, well, to not to exceed your health factor, and yeah, you can pretty much go indefinitely in theory, as long as NFT doesn't reach zero.
Yeah. And it seems like doing this it allows the LPs to have that return during the loan duration as well, as opposed to having to wait until the repayment of the loan for any sort of profitability to come back.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's another point. So that LP is also earning their interest continuously, and yeah, they can also like withdraw at any time. They're not locked in a loan per se.
Yeah, I love that fact. That part about the protocol design. It seems a lot makes a lot more sense. It's more user friendly for both borrower and lender side. One other interesting thing, I think maybe you guys recently launched this. I'm not exactly sure the timeline, but tell us a little bit more about Sweet Max.
Oh yeah. So yeah, SweetMax is like a tool for degens who want to it's like lever up on NFTs. So essentially, how it works, like you basically imagine like an aggregator like Gem, well now OpenSea Pro, with with a way to sweep the floor by paying maybe just 30% or like 40% of your of your NFTs in the cart. And so the way it works is the remaining part, like this remaining, let's say like 60%, gets financed by our lending pool. And then those NFTs get added as collateral, and yeah, you get a loan position on Drops. So in a way, yeah, that's how you can own NFT without having to pay, I guess, the full price. And yeah,
It's kind of like buy now, pay later in a way.
yeah, it totally is. So then you can continuously make payments on your own schedule, and eventually get to withdraw this NFT.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Is this limited to specific collections?
Well, it's it's limited to all the collateral that's being supported on Drops.
Right.
So currently, I'd say I don't know, something like 26, maybe around that number.
Yeah. And I would imagine the buyers can only buy floor priced NFTs in that collection, right? It wouldn't make sense for them to, or does that even support like mid tier or higher tier items in that collection?
Yeah. So since we, our Oracle just prices the floor items. So yeah, it's in theory it is possible to buy anything more expensive, but the financing part would be just lower for more
Right.
expensive ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're actually working on a new feature that will be launched soon, which will be which will add it's like pricing by trades. So certain collections have certain trades that have their own floors. Let's say like golden apes that trade like 8x or 10x from their floor price. So we'll have a separate Oracle for that, and it will be possible to buy.
Yeah, it's like a multiplier kind of thing.
Yeah. So it will be possible.
Yeah, similar to JPEG, they also have similar trade boost multipliers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting. And when borrowers take out these sort of loans and pay later, do they get to use the NFTs for token gated perks, like the utility side of it?
Um, so that's the tricky part, since NFT gets still stored on, well, locked on Drops market before it gets repaid. So we can access the wallet connections, which require signature from user. But yeah, in case any of the token gates support, it's like the receipt uh, of uh, of this purchase that represents this locked NFT, then it would be possible. Sorry, I guess it's on mute.
Oh, my bad. I was saying we've covered quite a bit on the protocol mechanisms and features. Is there anything that I missed, or any alpha for the listeners that you guys are launching pretty soon, we should be paying attention to and be excited about?
So there's a few things actually. So yeah, first is this: we will be adding this multiplication for NFTs, so they can be more fairly priced. But let's see, another more exciting thing would be NFT staking, and that would be like that will allow any NFT that is supported on Drops to earn Ether in like effortless manner. So user would come with their NFT, stake it in the vault, and start earning Ether. And under the hood, we're actually utilizing our Drops protocol. So we're taking a loan against it, sending this borrowed Ether to the vault, and that's where, and this Ether vault produces yield, and then we send it back to NFT staker. And yeah, like moving forward, we'll also be joining Polygon, and we'll start supporting collections there. Yeah, so yeah, that's all. Yeah, I can say now.
That's quite interesting, especially on the NFT staking to get ETH yield. It sounds like there's quite a few different underlying protocols this strategy will be deployed into. Like, I'm thinking about, as an NFT holder, you can, if it's a high value NFT, you can take it out a loan underlying, under the hood, if you will, take out loan in DropsDAO from the lenders and take the ETH into the vault. And the vault do you want to share a little bit on like what the vault is doing in the strategies? Like, do you guys put in a LSD staking type of yields to get ETH
Yeah,
staking yield, or what does that look
yeah,
like?
of course. Uh, so actually, I'm building like two components. We're building our like in-house Ether vault, where borrowed Ether will be sent to, and then
Mm-hmm.
we're sending it to strategies which, well, one of them it will be actually from SpiceFi, where they they're lending out Ether to NFT lending protocols, and yeah, have a decent stable APR.
Mm.
Also, like advantage of that part of that actually flows back to Drops. So
It sounds very deacon.
yeah,
So you're taking out a loan underlying. Essentially, it's just allowing users to automate this leveraged lending strategy, right? You're taking your NFT out for let's say 30% LTV, so it's pretty safe, and then you take that additional ETH to lend to other lending and borrowing protocols to earn yield. This is very degenerate and very, very attractive strategy. This is great.
And yeah,
Is there a rev share between the stakers and the underlying DropsDAO ETH provider?
currently no. But would you intend to introduce it? You just need to polish out, I would say, the methods, how it can be done. And yeah, I guess
awesome.
And yeah, there will be also more strategies later on, which would involve protocols like Gearbox, where there's a leverage LP providing to LSD pairs. So there are limits to all of that, but I would say for the start, we'll have the right amount of yield that we can offer.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, Darius, thank you so much for coming onto the show and covering so many interesting parts about your protocol and upcoming features for DropsDAO.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, great conversation. For those that are listening, follow DropsDAO on Twitter. That is at DropsNFT, DROPS NFT. Thank you guys for tuning in live, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to Look at My JPEG podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio podcast from, give us a like, a subscribe if you like the content, and we'll see you in the next episode.